All right, so where's the woman who has been waiting faithfully when it comes to love, a good man, and a healthy relationship? That's who I want to start off by acknowledging because you are who I want to speak to in this week's MIT training video. Of course, it is me, Coach V, the New Love Strategist with the New Love Collective, here to help you when it comes to doing whatever is necessary for you to win at Kingdom Love, specifically making sure that you can tap into who you are and break those unhealthy patterns. Let me start by saying I hope that you had a Merry Christmas yesterday. I hope you had a great day, however, you chose to spend that day. Me, I am a birthday girl. My birthday is on Christmas Day. So, of course, it was absolutely delightful spending with my family, my friends, kids, all of that other good stuff. Yeah, it felt great, and I hope you enjoyed your day as well. So let's go ahead and hop on into it. All right, because I know that this year did not go the way that many of you expected. I know that for many of you, you made a vow, promise, and or declaration at the end of 2024 saying that that was going to be your last year single, and you came into 2025 feeling a little bit hopeful that something was actually going to shift at some point and that you are going to find yourself in a happy, healthy, holy relationship. And of course, you were expecting it to happen, right? Of course, you were faithful because you have prayed, you've paused, you've trusted. But yet, now here it is, as we are just days away from going into 2026. Here you are feeling a little bit stuck. All right. Let me make sure you are well aware of the fact, if you know me, I am not here to place blame in any way. I am not about to, try to make you feel bad in any way. All right. This is about understanding why waiting by itself, why it has not produced any change for you. We're going to talk about why it's not waiting on God that tends to break cycles. Okay. And make no mistakes, waiting is holy. We are supposed to wait. Even in the Galatians 5 amplified version, patience is defined as not just waiting, but waiting well. So it is something that is holy, but waiting without alignment does not transform outcomes. And right now, we need to get you to a certain outcome, which your end result, you are wanting to be in a relationship with an amazing man that is going to lead to marriage sooner, maybe rather than later, right? Like that is the outcome that you are wanting to see happen. But if you are not making sure that you are aligned in doing and taking the necessary steps, then it means that you're just waiting, wishing, hoping, and praying. Waiting is nothing but time passing. But alignment is when internal shifts happen, right? Like when you're waiting, it's like, okay, just I'll be happy when I'm waiting on, it's one of those things that I look forward to when XYZ happens. But alignment means that you are preparing. Alignment means that you are getting serious. Alignment means that you are checking to see what areas exist in your life currently that need to change so that you can get to where it is you want to be. Alignment means you are actively working on becoming the woman that the man you're praying for is looking for. So waiting is assuming that change is just going to happen externally, okay? Alignment is what focuses on the internal preparation and positioning. Going back to Romans 12:2, right, where it talks about don't be conformed by the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation requires renewal, not time. Transformation does not automatically happen just because time has passed or just because you are waiting. Transformation requires renewal, means you have to actively renew your mindsets, your thought patterns, your behaviors, your strategies. It is all about being serious, right? You can wait years and years and years and still choose the same man if your patterns have not changed. I know women who have not dated for years. I know women who have taken themselves off the market for years, and then they found themselves being disappointed when they either went back onto the dating scene, signed up for a dating app, maybe actually started exchanging numbers with or communicating with men, realizing nothing changed, realizing they were encountering the same kind of men. realizing they were not getting any kind of results. And that is because their patterns hadn't changed. The internal work had not taken place. Just because you have not dated for some time does not mean that it's going to be miraculous and work well for you when you finally do it, if you have not done what was necessary during that time off. And let me also start with this, because I talk about patterns and habits. And what I know is that a lot of times it's tied to something emotionally. More times than not, it's tied to some type of emotional wounds, whether it's the emotional wounds that exist because you had an abusive parent, a dismissive parent, a narcissistic parent, a toxic parent, an absent parent. That means that you do have some wounds, right? And if you have not taken the time to actually work through those things, then then you're still in the same place, right? Like, you have to get intentional about healing those wounds. And time alone does not heal wounds. I know that that's one of those cliches or one of those sayings that's existed for however long. The old time heals all wounds. That's a lie. Tell that to someone who has lost a loved one. My mom, it's been 10 years and you think time heals all wounds. No, it actually almost hurts now, like, even it hurts more now than it does when it did when it first happened. Time does not heal all wounds, all right? Time does not heal attachment wounds. Time does not retrain your discernment. Time doesn't regulate the nervous system. Those are all things that you have to get serious about doing. You have to tend to yourself emotionally. You have to get real about the things that happened in your past or your childhood. You have to get real about why your attachment style is the way it is, why you've dated the way that you've dated, the patterns that you have yet to break. You have to get real about those things and then decide what needs to change and what steps you are going to take to ensure that change happens. Unhealed wounds cannot go left untreated. And unhealed wounds, they look like many different things, or they take the form of many different things, whether it's abandonment, whether it's fear of being alone, whether it's having low self worth, whether it's trauma bonding, whether it's attaching to men too quickly, whether it's building a fantasy with a man who you really can only go based off of his potential, but he hasn't really shown you anything that great or amazing about himself. Like, all of these different things exist, right? And whatever it is that you refuse to heal, you are going to repeat. And this is why I talk about healing so much, because people only pay attention to the fact that I'm a dating coach and they know that they want results. And that is why a lot of times the results, they don't happen, especially when they're working by them, or only when they're working by themselves. They don't happen because they're not wanting to take the time to heal. Whatever you don't face and confront, it is going to follow you. And that is why at some point you have to turn around and look that issue in the face and say, hey, it's time for us to duke this thing out. It's time for us to get serious. It's time for us to really go toe to toe so I can put you in your rightful place so that you will not follow me anymore. Hosea 4:6, it talks about how there's a lack of understanding, right? People perish because of the lack of understanding, not lack of faith. And a lot of you are very, very great in the faith area. I pay attention to the posts, I read the emails, I look at the DMs, I pay attention on the sessions, on the Zoom calls and everything like that. Faith, absolutely outstanding, right? Is one of those things where it's like, oh, I know that I'm going to be with a great man one day. I know my love is going to be reciprocated. I know that God is going to bless me with an amazing man. I know that I'm an amazing woman. The faith is out of this world. Faith doesn't mean anything if you don't understand why you're still where you are. Faith doesn't mean anything if you're not taking the steps to actually get to where you need and want to be. Faith means nothing if you are not engaging in some type of intentional strategy when it comes to your transformation process. And there are so many ways that I see women who are unknowingly repeating cycles while they are trusting God. Again, saying that they're trusting God, but it's like expecting God to do all of the work. Cycles continue when you are choosing from loneliness, when you're confusing chemistry with confirmation, when you're over spiritualizing those red flags. I told a lot of my business in the latest podcast episode how I over spiritualized, oops, how I over spiritualized red flags with the guy that I just thought that I was supposed to be with. And I was looking at all these different issues and things that he was dealing with, but I confused chemistry with confirmation. I was lonely and it made me stay connected to him. A lot of times, maybe you even call avoidance peace, where it's like, oh, I'm protecting my peace. I'm not engaging in anything right now. No, you are avoiding connection. You're avoiding the possibility of having to be vulnerable. You're avoiding the possibility of, maybe being involved in another disappointment. That has nothing to do with your peace. That is avoidance. There's a big difference between trusting God and ignoring wisdom. And you need to find out where on the scale do you truly fall at the end of the day. Proverbs 4:7, we know that wisdom is principle. Wisdom has to be the foundation. Wisdom is the thing that you must make all decisions from. And when you think about why you're doing what you're doing or why you're not doing what you should or could be doing, what does wisdom say about that? What is the principle really there? Like, what's really, really going on at the end of the day? Can you be open and honest with yourself? One thing I've said before is that God is not going to override the patterns that you refuse to examine. And again, this is also where wisdom comes into play because we have to do our part. You have to be willing to say, okay, this is what I'm wanting to see happen. This is what has been happening. Well, I just got to trust and believe that God is going to deliver me from this. Or God knows this is a weakness for me, so he's not going to present it. Or God wouldn't do this to me, so and so ends up happening. Surely that is sent from God. Well, I prayed about X, but Y happened. So maybe Y should be what I'm supposed to be experiencing. Like, we have all of these things that a lot of times we'll try to justify in a spiritual sense. But like I said, God is not going to override anything that you refuse to examine. This is how that whole faith without works is dead comes into play. Having faith is great, but you've got to take action, sis. You've got to decide that there are things that you're going to do and no longer do. Let's talk about patience versus avoidance. I knew I wanted to talk about this, right? Patience means that you're staying grounded while doing the work. Avoidance means you are staying idle while hoping that things are going to change. So avoidance, that would be maybe taking breaks from from dating or whatever, but you're not really doing any healing during that time. You're not being intentional during that time. You're not thinking about your transformation process during that time. Avoidance can be where you're avoiding dating, but you're not addressing the fears that are present. Your fear of rejection, fear of settling, fear of loneliness, fear of abandonment, whatever. Avoidance can look like saying, oh, I'm just waiting on God in this season, but yet you're repeating the same boundaries. The same things that God had already revealed to you about yourself. You said that you were going to do things differently, but now it's like, oh, well, I'm just waiting on God, but you're repeating a lot of the same things. Again, faith requires action. And the reason that patience is the best if you are going to wait well while you are staying grounded and doing the work, we know that patience is what actually produces fruit. Funny enough, it's also a fruit of the spirit, but avoidance is going to preserve cycles. Avoidance means that you are going to keep repeating a lot of the same cycles. A lot of the same cycles that you were supposed to leave in 2024, but you brought a lot of those into 2025. Chatting up men who have already shown you that they are not serious about you, but you're hoping that he's going to see something about you or within you and that he's going to change. Maybe it's going back to the same man that had you crying or in a dark and deep dark space once before. Maybe it's going back to somebody that you already knew that something was off about the spirit and it felt misaligned, but you're like, oh, well, maybe I was just being too deep and maybe I need to give him another chance. Maybe it's you're steadily dating the same kind of men. Maybe it's one of those things where you're afraid of rejection, so therefore you're not dating at all, even though you really, really want to. So now you're just leaving it in God's hand. It's time for you to get aligned if you really want 2026 to look differently for you. Alignment is going to require you to look at a couple of different things. First of all, it means you're going to have to be spiritually aligned. You're going to have to be spiritually aligned. You're going to have to be willing to confront a lot of your patterns. You need to be willing to walk this thing out with God. You need to check and see what your obedience to Him is looking like in this season, your faith in Him, how much you truly do trust Him. You want to make sure that you are dwelling in God's love and staying in His presence, keeping your face in the good book as much as possible for you to be spiritually aligned. Prayer and wisdom are going to go hand in hand. And then we also have to look at emotional alignment. Are you someone who's emotionally regulated, or do you get in your feelings very quickly and easily? Are you someone who is almost always ready to cut someone off or block someone or send a text that you should not be sending or say something that you should not be saying when things don't go the way that you want them to go? When people don't respond the way that you want them to respond, are you emotionally regulated? Have you identified what your attachment wounds are? And are you willing to take the steps to heal them? Because your attachment wounds determine how you show up emotionally, mentally, and relationally. They determine how you do relationships. I had a woman who would come to me because she was sick of always either being ghosted or was like she could never really get to a second or a third date. And upon really talking and evaluating what these dates and conversations were looking like with all the recent men, it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, of course, lovingly, but me having to let her know, not even trying to turn and twist this, but if I was a man and you were showing up like that, I would have probably been done with you too. I would have never taken you on a second or third date. I would have stopped communicating with you as well. She had these things that were a part of her attachment style and her abandonment wounds that were determining how she was in conversations, right? Like it was showing the things that she would tell me as far as conversations, the questions and the things that she would get into on the first or even second dates. Just it was a whole hot mess. But it's like her attachment wounds those are what was actually leading her, and it made sense why she was not getting anywhere. There are some women who come to me, it's like I never get asked on dates, and it's like, okay, we can work through that. But then there are other women, yeah, they go on plenty of dates, but it's like those dates end up not going anywhere. And that's an even bigger problem. But that is one of those things where your average woman does not stop and think, okay, well, what is wrong with me if men never want to see me again? Like if a man no longer wants to talk to me, if I've repeatedly been ghosted, if I've never been asked on a second or a third date, what is it that I am giving off? So you need to get emotionally aligned in this season as well. You want to make sure that you are doing any type of self-soothing behaviors instead of attaching prematurely. And when I say self-soothing, a lot of things that are tied to abandonment issues and attachment styles and things like that, it's because you're craving the connection with that man. You don't want to lose the connection with that man. You're in a slight space of desperation. You don't want to be abandoned. It's something that you really, really are craving and yearning and deeply desiring. And if you can start some of the self soothing things, finding ways to validate yourself, give yourself some attention, do what is necessary to develop self love and increase your self worth, then you will not be as needy when it comes to a relationship. That means you will find yourself not attaching so prematurely or not attaching at all. We just want to form healthy connections. You should not be attaching at all. So you want to make sure that you get spiritually aligned, emotionally aligned, but also relationally aligned. Have you decided, outside of what needs to change within you, but what you want your future relationship to look like? Not just how that man is going to show up for you, what he's going to provide for you, what he's going to put up with when it comes to you, but have you also looked at, okay, how does this mean I need to show up for him? What are the things that I need to work on so that I can be a co-contributor to a healthy relationship? Have you realized that, hey, I've fallen for a few things in the past. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm sick of the games and the nonsense. So I need to now create and enforce better boundaries. Have you decided that, hey, I'm not going to pay attention to how someone makes me feel, how intense it is, how much passion there is? No, I'm going to make sure that a man is consistent. I'm only going to choose consistency over intensity. Have you said, instead of dating from a place of fear, whether it's fear of abandonment, rejection, or whatever else, that you are going to date from your values? Do you know what your values are? Have you taken the time to really think about what it is that you value? And don't feel bad if you don't, because again, I ask all of my women this when we do private coach. That sounds like a pimp. I ask all of my women. But no, I ask all of my women this when we do private coaching, when I want to get clear on their values. And the majority are like, I don't know what my values are, but we work through it together, because you only want to date a man when there are shared values. But alignment changes who you notice, who you tolerate, and who you pursue or who you connect with. So, alignment is something that you have to focus on here over the next couple of weeks as you start out 2026. Be determined that you are going to get aligned even on your own, that you're going to engage in some spiritual, emotional, and relational alignment so that you can date better and so that you can be in a relationship in 2026. It always kills me when I hear people, oh, well, you can't really put, a timing on God, or you can't really go and decide this, or God's going to do it when he wants. The way that Christians spiritualize relationships in marriage, it's crazy to me sometimes. It's a little bit crazy, scary, and sad, but we know that God cares about absolutely everything that concerns us, right? God is more concerned about your readiness and your healing and you being aligned more than he cares about you being in a relationship. Because if you're not healed, whole, and ready, that already means that you're not even experiencing the abundant life that Christ came for you to have. That already means that you're out of order in some way. When you refuse to heal and tend to certain things, and when you're engaging in certain behaviors and patterns, that's actually a level of disobedience to it at the end of the day. And based on, depending on how you treat and respond to people, there are some of those actions that I see and hear about women engaging in, and that's borderline sin at the end of the day. God cares more about you correcting those things more than he cares about you being in a relationship. And I say all that to say, when you are honoring God and you're like, hey, I'm going to tend to my mess, I'm going to heal for real so that I can live my best life for God, so that I can be who God has called and created me to be, so that I can fully walk into the fullness of God, so that I can show up knowing that I am called, that I am chosen, that I am worthy, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Like when you move like a boss, that changes your atmosphere tremendously. And what I need Christians and believers to understand, it's not so much as, oh, God, it'll happen when God wants it to. God would be perfectly okay with it happening now if you are going to be in something that is happy, healthy, and holy. If it is actually going to be like a kingdom relationship, one that embodies kingdom love. So I say all of that where it's like when you tend to what you need to tend to, then it's like you can go out there and you will be able to date better, which again, you got to be willing to go out there, action, positioning yourself. Getting a relationship, it is the easiest thing. Being married, that is not something that God only blesses certain people with. And others, he says, nope, you got to wait. I know all kinds of women that are married, okay? I know some faith filled women who are married and they got married fairly quickly and they're still happy. I know some people who are in some unhappy marriages, but those women, because they refused to heal and deal with their mess, and they married the first man that showed up or gave them any attention or that wanted to marry them. I know some women who are in marriages solely because they pressured a man, because for them, that meant that they were going to be validated if they had a ring on their finger and was actually married. I know some worldly women who are married. Okay. I know some women who, some little fresh tailed women who have rings on their finger and they are also wives. Marriage is not something that God is just blessing certain people with. When you are healed, whole, and aligned, and when you have the right strategy, that's something that is like, okay, I want to be married. So I'm going to now date intentionally, and I am going to find myself in a relationship, then an engagement, and then marriage. I'm going to make sure that I only date men who want the same thing that I want, who want it when I want it, right? And as long as you are willing to do what's necessary, listen, those who have done new lease dating coaching with me will tell you I don't play when it comes to the challenges. The things that I make women do, nothing crazy and ungodly, right? But the challenges that I have women engaging in so that they can actually date. Like breakout, that is for healing and realignment and detaching and stuff like that with a little bit of dating coaching. And yeah, there are challenges in there. But for the others who either come to me like after doing the healing or, something like that, then it's like, all right, I'm going to be your dating coach. This is what I want you to do before we meet again. Whether it is online dating, whether it's telling them the public places to go, whether it's telling them how to strike up the conversation first, whatever. Like there are literal challenges that I will make my clients do every single week where it's like just to show dating is not as difficult as people make it out to be. Getting a man is not as difficult as people make it out to be. It's not. It's only been made difficult because, of course, when there are other issues that need to be tended to, then you don't make the best choices and decisions. This is why having that support and accountability matter. That's why having someone who can actually walk beside you matters, right? So that you can ensure that you are doing things strategically while still remaining true to what you believe in, biblically speaking. So, as we get ready to go into this next year, let me give you your friendly reminder, of course, that you are not behind, that you are not broken, but you are being invited to align. Okay. So I want to make sure that you stay connected to me. If you're watching this in the group or on the YouTube channel, stay connected because there are definitely some things that are going to be coming up where I am going to be going all in when it comes to helping those who are serious. 2026 is going to be an amazing year. Of course, right now I'm preparing for the 3-day love strategy challenge that is going to be starting January 12th. It is completely free. All you have to do is register www.thenewlovecollective.com/3DC. D and C is lowercase all together. But that is going to be a nice little love strategy challenge that is going to help you when it comes to winning at love in 2026. I want to really just do whatever I can in order to help God's daughters this year, tending to the spots that they didn't even realize needed a little bit of TLC, and really getting you on the right path and getting you out the boat so that you can win at love this year. So make sure that you stay connected. Make sure that you join the challenge. Make sure that you stay in the know. 2026. Get your fix. I don't even know. That sounds like an ad for drugs. But no, seriously, 2026. This can be the year that you win at love, but you have to be intentional, you have to be strategic, and you have to realize that it has nothing to do with waiting on God. You are responsible for breaking those cycles, even if you are not the reason that you even got entered into them.